Welcome to For the Long Run, the podcast exploring the why behind what keeps runners running long, strong, and motivated. I'm your host, Jonathan Levitt. Through personal and professional connections in the running world, I have the privilege of getting to know some amazing athletes. I've always been fascinated by the psychological aspect of running, and this podcast is aimed at exploring this and much more. I hope you enjoy. Welcome back. Today I have Kurt Decker joining me from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Kurt, thanks for taking the time to chat today.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me.
For sure. So first question, who is Kurt Decker?
Who is Kurt Decker? Kurt Decker, it's always funny to kind of think about yourself in that kind of way. I am born and raised in Minnesota, someone who loves my state, love everything about it, in particular the emphasis on engaging and being outside and doing lots of different things. And yeah, so that's kind of me in a nutshell. I love being outside. I love interacting with people, and yeah.
Cool. And you've taken that passion for interacting with others and running and being outside, and you haven't sort of made it your life mission or your life project. It fully is, what you do all the time. So let's talk about that. How did that come about?
Well, it's, for me, it was like, I was, again, one of my many passions is running and like I said, being outside. For me, gosh, I don't know what would have been like, I think 93, 94-ish. I was just kind of looking for a change and what I was doing work-wise, and just, I knew I loved running and stuff. I frequented local running shops, and, I decided, hey, you know what? I am going to stop doing what I'm doing. And I was working in the record business, working in a record store, which I loved. But that being said, I didn't necessarily have, at the time, healthiest lifestyle on stuff. So it's like a lot of hanging out late at night, and, not that you can't do that in other ways. So long story short, reached out to my local store that I hung out at, said, hey man, I'm willing to do anything, get on in. And next thing I know, I got a job. And next thing I know, 25 years later, here I am. But yeah, and it's funny because I with working in the industry and working with young kids, it's really awesome. You can talk to them in lots of different ways. And, I was just talking to a kid just yesterday and just saying how we had a connection in that he is currently going to my old high school. And I was just like, yeah, you just never know where the sport will take you. At the time, I was looking for something to do with my friends and to engage athletically. And lo and behold, literally that passion was sparked, and now it's been my life's work. And it's like, who would have thunk it at the time? But that's the magic of it.
Yeah. So I was talking with Alex Kurt, who is the guy who sort of introduced us or linked us up on Twitter to get this podcast going. And one of the things that he said was, with Kurt, it's just a lifelong passion that he turned into a career. And to be honest, it seems like he never even considered not making it his career. There are so many people that think like, oh, wow, I'd love to work in this industry or that industry. But it seems like you were just like, well, I want to, so I'm going to. And he said that inspired him to pursue a job that he loves as much as he does, that he loves as much as you love. So I want to know, where did that, was that a conscious thought that you had, or was it just like, I want to do something, so I'm going to do it?
Yeah, I mean, kind of. I mean, it's like you first, like anything, you just kind of jump into it and you're not really thinking way, way, way out ahead of you. But a couple things. And for me, it was, I knew that I was happy in an environment like the run shop. I was happy engaging with my fellow staff members and the customers that were coming in, and that it made me feel good, and I was also checking off the boxes of I was able to pay my rent and feed myself and all that good stuff. And then, as time goes on, I was like, well, other opportunities potentially were, coming towards me. And I was like, well, I decided, while knowing that, again, making some money and paying the rent and all that good stuff is important, you have to be able to do that. I knew that this lifestyle and this career path was going to afford me other things that weren't necessarily going to be reflected in my bank account, but were going to be reflected in my life account. And that's really, then I just said, let's just make this work. And it doesn't mean that there's not struggles or frustrations along the way, but the end result is something that's just so beautiful that I can never ever buy with any sort of paycheck. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
I love that. The deposits in your life account. You can't beat that, right?
No, not at all. I mean, and again, it comes back from something, I would say that's part of how I was brought up, was to really, enjoy and look deep at things in different ways. But again, back to running, like my high school coach was, I'll never forget. I mean, I remember him saying to us, like, okay, guys, when you're training, you're depositing money in your account, and then you're going to have days where you're going to make withdrawals. But if you don't train smartly, you're not going to be making as much cash to put in and use it when you need to use it. And then again, it's just that whole analogy of just like things, there's a give and a take, there's a yin and a yang, and you have to be able to sometimes see it in a abstract kind of a way.
Definitely. So I see that you did your first 100-miler in 2002. How did that idea come about? How did you decide you wanted to run that far?
Yeah, well, for me, it was a matter of I, like a lot of people, I guess I'm not a bucket lister, but I did have experiences that I wanted to experience. And one of them was to see if I could push my mind and my body that far, and to enjoy it and try and do it, and knowing that while doing it, I'd be doing it with my support crew, which would be my family and friends. And then also kind of the part of it is that the previous year I had run a 50-miler, and back then you could still use a 50-miler to qualify for Western States. And that was this epic event that I really, was longing to potentially participate in. But rather than putting in for the lottery, I really felt like I wanted to do a 100-miler first, so that I really truly would appreciate what I could potentially be in for and understand it. Not, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Going into it with a
bit of an idea.
Yeah. And a bit of a respect too. That like, dude, this is the real deal, and lots of things go into this. So yeah, I'm glad I did that.
What was that first finish line of the 100 like?
Oh, it was crazy. It was so good. It was I was more mentally exhausted than physically exhausted, because my race was so weird in that, we just had such a really cool spring as I'm training, and then we just got nailed with an insanely hot and humid day. And you're like, okay, I've been training and it's been like 50s and 60s. And oh yeah, today they're saying the high may go over 100. And you're like, okay, so whatever. And then somewhere around mile 50-ish, I kind of took a weird, awkward fall and hit my knee really weird on a rock. And needless to say, my knee was not feeling too good, but I was really committed to just grinding it out and experiencing it. So there was a lot of power walking and running mixed in, And so I didn't really torch my body from pushing like the run the whole way like I would in later hundreds, but it was more of that mental grind of I'm going to make it and I don't care. And so like that exhaustion was more of that mental exhaustion of just like pushing myself there, knowing I could not run as much as I would have liked. But it was very cool too, because, I had the finish line. I had my mom and my brothers and some good buddies. And it was really cool. I was really, it was really neat. It was something I'll definitely never forget.
And then Western States, I mean, I'm sure it was a little bit different a couple of years ago compared to how it is now, but talk to me about what that experience was like. That course is something else.
Yeah, it is. And it was kind of funny too, because I had never run, any quote unquote mountainous race, much less 100. And so it was really cool because I had reached out to both Tim Tweetmeyer and a multiple time winner, and then a guy named Ian Torrance, who is also a legend in the sport. And they had gave me some, training tips and yada, yada. And, but that being said, I was not prepared for what I was going to experience as far as like the terrain being different. And what I mean by that is like we get like cut by 10,000, death by 10,000 cuts here, where it's like up and down, up and down, up and down. Whereas there, man, it's like those
miles and miles and miles. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like, God, I'm in the canyons and I'm just like, where's the top? and it wasn't so much that it was like so steep. It was just like, it just kept going. And so it was not even just a physical, it was that mental, like, oh my Lord. And so it was pretty epic. I mean, I look back on that race and it's like I could have gone so much faster had I just I would spend time in these aid stations, like lots of time, just like lamenting with my crew, like, you guys have no idea. This just goes on. And like all of a sudden they'd be like, dude, you've been here like 15 minutes, go. And you'd be like, oh yeah, sorry. Well, I mean, you do that enough times, all of a sudden you're like, man, I wasted like 5 hours in aid stations. Yeah. My Lord. Yeah. So yeah, it was pretty funny. I mean, I laugh and look back at it. I wouldn't change it because it was really, really special, but it was pretty funny. And so like when I've gone back to help crew friends and stuff, I mean, I'm like, guys, listen here, I am not going to chat with you. I've been there. We're not doing it. We're just going to get you in and out.
So my first ultra was supposed to be the 50K at North Face, California in 2018. And the wildfires that year caused it to be canceled. So we ended up doing our own thing in Tahoe, sort of near the start of Western States. We were on some of those trails. But it was funny. So Devin Yanko was crewing us, and I had the same experience. Like we would come in, basically just like running from her car to her car to her car as an aid station. And we'd be there for like 15 minutes. And at some point she'd be like, all right, get out of here. Like you got to keep moving. So I can only imagine, almost 4 times the distance. Doing the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, you don't realize you're doing it in the moment, but yeah, it's in retrospect, you kind of chuckle about it. So,
but you still had a pretty stout time with just over 24 hours.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was like 24. Yeah, just over 24. Yeah, I mean, I was happy with it. I mean, again, if Monday morning quarterback, you go, geez, like, I mean, even with just like a little bit of hoof in it, maybe, you're in the low 20s, 21s, but whatever. It is what it is. It's like, that's the beauty of all these experiences is that, you have to take it all and just be okay with it, I guess.
Yeah. So talk to me about the trail running scene in Minneapolis.
It's insanely vibrant and really, really cool. It's funny because, so many people, like, they just, they think like Minneapolis is like kind of flyover country or whatever, but I mean, it's really a special place, and there's so much trail access. You're not going to have big 14ers and all that stuff, snow-capped mountains, but you're going to have just lush trail all over the place, and it's super cool. I mean, like, I can go do like miles and miles. There's like, for instance, Theodore Wirth Park, which is like literally you can see downtown. You're just a few miles away. I mean, you can be there in the summertime, and there's, I would say, roughly probably almost 20 miles of single track trail. You can be there in the wintertime, and there's tons of Nordic skiing. And again, people are running on the single track trail because the fat bikes pack it down. And I mean, and that's just one place. There's tons of places like, 15 minutes this way, 15 minutes that way. And it's a cool place. And what I really like about it too is that there's a really good community, in the sense of like people like realizing they have volunteering, whether that's for trail work or volunteering at races. Like, when people run our races and then they go run races elsewhere, they were like, wow, like, the aid stations just weren't quite the same. And I'm like, no, it never is the same. You get spoiled. And like, we actually have wait lists for people to volunteer at races,
Wow.
like, which is kind of funny if you think about it, but yeah, but no, it's cool. I feel very lucky to be a part of it. And yeah.
Cool. Yeah, the only race I've run in the area was North Face, the one at Kettle Moraine.
Oh yeah, just outside the Madison area. Yeah.
Yeah, I did that one a couple times, and is on the Ice Age Trail for a bit, and yeah, it's just gorgeous over there. And I've been to Minneapolis a couple times, and people are just so friendly.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I remember the first time Ian Corliss came over to cover the Superior 100, and every time he's come, I've always hosted him at my house. But the first time in particular, we still chuckle about it all these years later. He's just like, I've never had so many people say hi and thanks for being here. It became this ongoing joke. Like, even today, like, we'll be out on the trail. I'll be hanging out with him while he shoots photos, and he'll just be like, thanks for being here. And like, and I'm like, yeah, what can you say? So it's good.
So I came to, the first time I went to Minneapolis was 2015. It was in the summer, and I was there for a work trip. And so I went by myself, and I was there for 3 days, and I don't think I ate every meal out at a restaurant, and I didn't sit alone once. People were just like, who are you here with? I was like, oh, myself. And they're, come sit with us.
That's awesome.
It was something else. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I like to hear that.
Yeah, it was awesome. So another cool thing that you've done that we share as well is rim to rim to rim. Talk to me about your experience doing that.
Oh, that was super duper fun. That's actually, I did that with Alex and some other guys, but it was really it was super cool because it landed. We went with this group, and it was actually funny because it was like, the day we flew out was my birthday, and then Alex's birthday was like the day after we were done. So we kind of it was like this pseudo birthday guys trip, but just to go do it. And for me, my backstory with it was I was supposed to do it, I think 2 or 3 years, I don't know, a couple of years prior. And I got hurt that winter training for it. I'd got a sacral stress fracture. So I was really bummed. I'm like aqua jogging while my buddies are in the canyon. But not quite the same. But so being able to go was just so much fun to be there. And we just had a great time with it. We weren't, we weren't kidding anybody like, oh, like how fast are we going to do it? It was just more of like, dude, let's just like take in the sights, have fun, chit chat. And it was really an amazing experience. I tell people, like, when they talk to me about it, like they come in the shop and they're like, hey, we're thinking about doing this and we want to pick your brain. And I'm like, what's so funny is normally we run like to the mountain and then go up it. Whereas this is like you're standing like an ant and you go down into it, and like it's like the reverse. And like, but yeah, it was so cool, and just also like how different the sides of the canyon are.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I wasn't thinking it would be like that, but then I found myself immersed in it, and I'm like, wow,
It's
this
like a
is
forest on the other side.
yeah, you're like, what? And like, it's super cool. It was something that was so enjoyable, and I so look forward to going back sometime.
How are you with heights?
I'm pretty good with heights. I mean, I would say I feel like I've gotten worse with it as I've gotten older. But yeah, I mean, on the North Rim, definitely there's a couple of those sections where let's just say the trail is a little close. I will say I definitely slowed down and
Yeah.
told the group, "Hey, you guys, go ahead. I'm going to go to the back here."
Yeah.
So yeah, that was cool. Yeah, it was definitely something. But other than those few spots, I never felt too wigged out by it.
So I did it in October this past fall with a group of about 15 people, and we started at 5 a.m. So it was super dark, and I fell off the back immediately. And I didn't see anybody for the first 6.5 miles because I'm terrified of heights, and so I was rolling like 20-minute miles downhill for the first 4 miles.
Yeah,
and I get to Phantom Ranch, and all my friends are there, and they look like they've just like had a spa day or something, just been relaxing. and I'm like, oh, you guys been here a while? And they're like, just like a half hour, 45 minutes. So they put like 30 minutes on me in a 10K essentially. And it was like, oh boy. But
that's
yeah,
funny.
then that middle section is just so cool.
Oh yeah.
When you're in it. And I don't know, the climb on the other side was no comparison to the climb back on the south side. But talk to me about the feeling of that last 10K climb out.
Well, it was really funny because like that day was so weird for me. Like, one of the guys that was doing it with us, he's done it like 8 or 9 times. So it was like, he was just kind of pointing out all kinds of different things, and we're having a great time. And so on the way up the North Rim, a funny story, I got to share this because it was just so hilarious, the look on people's faces. I had a couple who did the rim 2 weeks prior, customers that I had met years in the past. And as we were heading out there, they sent me this video they had bought a gold Grand Canyon coin, and they had hidden it on the trail, and they wanted to see if I could find it 2 weeks later. And I shit you not, I saved the video. So I literally found this coin under this rock. Wow. I'm like, wait, this corner kind of looks, so I'm like referencing. So I find this coin. It was just so awesome. Like everyone's like, so the whole going up the North Rim, people are just like laughing. They're like, I can't, you're the only guy I know who's like finds a gold coin scavenger hunt in the canyon. And
that's wild.
It was really wild. I look at that coin still and just laugh, and like, what a great experience. But needless to say, so that was the whole conversation going up, and then coming down. Well, I started to feel like hell, like on the bottom of the canyon. And like my lack of training, but for some reason, making that climb up, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just that constant talk about, like, I started to rethink about like what it was like to have like people in that human connection and finding that coin. And I'm out here with some really good friends, and I mean, it definitely was a slog to the top, but for some reason, like I just got in a really good headspace. Part of it is Alex and I were just chit-chatting, and of course you're passing all the people who literally had no idea like what they were in for when they were walking down in their flip-flops and stuff. So maybe that makes you feel better because you're like, as bad as I am, I'm not going to be there. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but yeah, it was something else. I definitely was so relieved when I got to the top for sure, and I was exhausted. But but it was again similar to the Western states. Where's the frickin' top? But it was weird in a different way. So yeah, it was really cool. I tell people all the time it's such a memorable thing to try and do if you can.
Definitely. So I've talked about my own experience with rim to rim to rim a bunch of times on this podcast, and people have reached out to say, "Oh, it's something I want to do." Blah blah blah. So, what are some tips you have for somebody who might be considering doing that?
Well, I mean, one of the things for sure. I mean, again, some basic things it seems like to me, but it's like you know, definitely start early. For a couple of reasons. I think there's nothing cooler than seeing the sun come up as you're like making your way down
Yeah.
the canyon, and that's pretty cool. And then also it's just like like pack for things. You don't want to be like packing like you're going to be camping for a week, but don't skimp too much because you would much rather have that extra soft flask in the back of your pack of water than not and be like, oh no, I don't have anything. Where am I going to find something to drink? You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I just was telling, people like, I remember this one group I was talking to last year and they're like, oh, we wish we would have listened to you and had like a super lightweight glove or a buff that we could put on because man, we were really cold when we got to the top of the North Rim. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but or have a coat with a hood so you can pull it up. It's amazing how warm you'll get just pulling that thin hood over your head. Little things like just being prepared. Like but also again, taking it seriously. People will be like, well, it looks pretty buffed out or it's only this far. And I'm like, yeah, but it's like, it runs so much longer than what you
Yeah.
think the time is, and, so like, again, just taking it seriously, giving it respect. And also I would say, again, just don't get so full of yourself. Just enjoy it and take your time. Like you're not Jim Walmsley or Rob Craw, just take it in and because I don't know about them. I don't know when or if I'll get back. So I want to really remember it.
Totally. Talk about respecting the distance and elevation. So it was my longest run ever. And by the time I got to the north side, I had matched my longest time on feet ever. So it was essentially almost double,
Yeah,
almost double
yeah.
that. It
You
was like,
match it and you're like, dude, I got to go back.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that was something else. I mean, it was wild. I felt good for 50K. And then I felt incredible for the next 5 miles. And then I felt awful for the rest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that's ultra running to a T. It's like you literally can experience all of the feelings over and over in the same day while wearing the same shorts, Yeah.
All
It's
wearing
like
the same shorts. I love it.
yeah, it's like I great, I feel horrible. I am awesome. And then back
Yeah.
to oh Lord. And it's like, yeah, it's really funny. It's a cool it's a cool experience if you're truly like actually let it absorb into you.
Yeah. And then the coolest part is you can see the other rim from the top. And so it's like, wow, that is far. I did travel a far distance.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
So, talk to me about a time that you may have not been successful, and what did you learn from something that might otherwise be considered failure?
Oh geez, gosh. That's kind of funny you say that. I will say, like, for instance, my first time running Leadville, and we just had a horrible day. I think I don't know where it is now, but at the time, I think it was like the highest dropout rate they had ever had for the race.
Wow.
And I mean, it was just so wicked. It was like we started out in pouring rain, and then it's snowing on us. I'm like, it's snowing on me. It's August. And like, and then it's like, then it's back to pouring rain for hours. And then I get to the top of Hope's Pass, and it's hot as can be, it feels like, and then it's back to pouring rain. Long and the short of it is I just mentally was losing it. And through various other things, like I got to, I don't know, it was miles probably 80-ish or so. I just gave up. I just like my good buddy had dropped out, and I saw him sitting in the tent, and my wife, who was pacing me, she was like hypothermic and she's going to stop. And I just like said, forget this. And man, the second they cut that tag off me, I had such regret. And because, besides, it was my first time ever dropping out of an event at all. But, and I felt so bad about it. And mostly I felt bad because, again, it's like going back to that respect for the event and the distance. It's like, there's nothing wrong with dropping out of something for whatever your reason is. You have to be good with it. But I felt like I just dropped out and didn't give the race the respect. And like, what was I thinking? I had been out there before to crew and pace. It wasn't going to be easy, but for whatever reason, I just was like, I'm done. And it really bummed me out a lot. And so like I went back the very next year, and again, we had a decent day that day, but my race again kind of went the poot on me a little bit. But man, I learned from it that, again, I respect this race. I respect this course. I respect that I have the ability to keep moving if I choose to, and I was going to choose, and I hoofed it on in, and I was really, really proud of that effort, because there was nothing that was not going to get me to the finish line. And I really learned to be grateful that previous year. And it was nice to be able to come back the next year and feel like I, vindicated myself and stuff.
That's awesome. How does Leadville compare to Western States? I've been to Western States a couple times, but have always had Leadville on the list too.
Yeah, Leadville's really special. Leadville is different in that, obviously, it's got, obviously, it's got some really runnable areas, and then it's got some tougher spots on the big thing is it's the elevation. I mean, it's like, who runs 100 miles like we're all but a mile of it's above 10,000 feet? And when you're coming from, especially, I think
sea level,
coming from anywhere, but yeah, Minnesota, I mean, it's brutal. I mean, you're just breathing through a straw, but it's so pretty. And the thing I really like about, I mean, I guess you experience this at a lot of races, but at Leadville, I felt it. I've been to Leadville so many times as crew, pacer, blah, blah, blah. I've run it. My wife's run it. But it's like the people really, truly like that are from there really appreciate you being there. And you really, at least I felt like I could really feel it every time I've been there. And so it's really a cool race, but definitely you have to be prepared to respect the altitude. Like, again, people be like, I don't know if you know Chris Danucci, for instance. Chris is a friend of mine. And I mean, I remember him after running it and us, talking about it. It's like, again, it's like people are, it's a real runnable one, this, that, and the next thing. But, how runnable is runnable when you've been on your feet for so long trying to breathe through a straw? It changes everything, And so yeah, but it's cool. I feel very fortunate to have had the opportunity to have run it, and I just look forward to going back.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's I've spent some time in Boulder, Colorado, but never further out towards Leadville, and
Yeah.
it's definitely high on the list. Pun
Make your way
obviously
out.
intended.
Yeah, make your way out there. I mean, what's cool about like when we run these races and we go these places, you experience something. Like I love what Boulder offers. It's really a cool place. What I really like about Leadville is it's like a true mountain town. Like, you know what I mean? Like to think that at
Yeah,
one point that was going to be the capital of Colorado and not Denver. And it's like, I mean, it's right up there in the mountains, and it's just a mining town, and it's pretty neat. It's probably one of my favorite places I've ever been in my life.
that's awesome. So switching gears a little bit, let's talk Twin Cities Running Company. Obviously, we're
Yeah.
in some weird times with coronavirus and everything going on. What can runners do to help support their local running stores?
Well, I mean, I think, obviously, like, yeah, like, shopping there is obviously a big thing, but I think you always try to look for like silver linings and some bad things maybe. And hopefully people are like realizing like how important like community is and what supports community. And in this case of running community, a big support generally comes from things like your local run shops. A lot of people are lamenting, oh, these races all being canceled, but a lot of those races are all, they're there partially, they're supported by these stores. And you know and what you get from it, people come. I always tell people, go into your local shop, and and I think you're going to find you're going to get so much more than some products. Whether it's not just an exchange of a currency for something. It's hopefully you'll have a situation where you are able to engage in some conversation and look around on the walls and see some history. At least that's what we do at our stores. Is through old, really old shoes or photographs over the years and stuff. And I think it's a really cool thing. But I mean, yeah, just going in your shops, like it's easy to obviously order up something, but it's just not the same experience. And I think we really saw that when it first hit, and like we had to close our doors, and we were able to still do like phone orders and ship stuff out, and people were reaching out and they were like, hey man, and that was really cool. I really appreciated that from folks, like people buying stuff when they really didn't need it. But at that same stance, going in is such a cool experience. And yeah, no, it's been really challenging, but yet rewarding too, because I think people all of a sudden are like, gosh, I didn't realize how much I missed you guys until I couldn't come into your store and talk to you. And then like, I'm like, that really makes you feel good, So
Yeah, it's cool what you can build in a community.
oh, for sure. I mean, for sure. It truly is everything, So
Definitely. So how does your own running look different today, even compared to last year or a couple of years
yeah.
ago?
It's funny, like my running it looks a lot different right now. So for me, it's kind of like, it's funny. It's like that, you know, my passion is always it's never ever dwindles whatsoever. But yeah, how I engage in the sport changes and stuff, like whether it's like full on training and racing, races, or whether it's just running for social fun or whatever. At this point, it's more just doing some runs, maybe going out with my dogs. My wife still actively trains a lot, so maybe trying to do some stuff with her. And then I just try to engage other parts of my body, whether that's going out on my bikes or roller skis or something of that ilk. Just to, again, it's a similar thing on how it engages your brain. But yeah, I just do different things. I certainly have some when I say events, more like just runs type things that I would like to do like later in the fall. I'm just going to kind of play it by ear and see where things land as far as things with the stores. But yeah, it's pretty chill. It's more of a, I run and I will always run because I'm a runner, but I'm not certainly training for events.
Cool. So you're getting more into cycling as well, I hear.
Yeah.
And as you've shared, talk to me about that.
It's funny. It's just another, God, it's just another engagement in just movement and such. This last winter, working, talking with some folks and just, about various things and, just saying, hey, you know what, we have all these things that are similar, but, maybe try some different stuff. And it started, like re-engaging with Nordic skiing and then just saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to pick up a bike and I'm just going to get out there and see what happens. And next thing you know, you're like, wow, I've got a couple bikes this spring and I should probably chill on it. No, and it's like, but it's just really fun because it's like, it taps into a lot of the same things that you love about running, but the movement, the speed, or whatever, like, when you're mountain biking, the picking the line and like you do in trail running on a descent, but it's just different, and I've really, it's actually been like an amazing experience for me to go through all of this. And I really feel like it just is added so much to my life as an athlete.
Definitely. It's and you can add much more volume on that as well without much of a physical impact, which is nice.
Oh, without a doubt. Yes. Yeah, that's definitely something I've noticed. It's you can definitely add the volume, and I mean, it's like, oh yeah, I'm just daily 2-3 hour ride versus like, I would never do that running, but at least I wouldn't recommend it. But
Right.
yeah, no, it's cool. It's and I think too, like one of the things I've tried to challenge myself and other people with this is it's like you're gonna always have your passion, your thing, but not to be afraid of pigeonholing yourself into I'm this, like I am a trail runner. I will not run roads. I am a ultra runner. I won't run a 5K. Like that's just silly.
I had a conversation with Devin Yanko about this last spring, I want to say, and I was trying to figure out like what I should focus on for my spring racing. And I had just spent the last year focused on trail running and taking some time off from road running. And she was like, then just do what feels fun and do it until it's not fun, and then do something else that's fun, and then do it till it's not fun, and just keep doing things that are fun. So I think now more than ever, that's good advice. I just built up a gravel bike with my dad, and like I had never mountain biked or I had never used a gravel bike, and now I'm loving that, and I'm doing that 3 or 4 times a week with a couple road rides, and that's on top of running. So it's like, that's fun, and it's a nice break from the work day when I don't have a commute, and like sort of separates things, which is nice.
Yeah, no, I think that's so true.
Cool. What do you wish people knew about you?
What do I wish people knew about me? Like I said, I feel like I'm kind of an open book for the most part. I mean, as far as I think, man, I don't know. I mean, I think that's part of why I've done what I've done, and I know the people like a lot of. It was funny. I remember a childhood friend saying to me once when we were kind of looking back on things, and he's like, Kurt, you get along with everybody, and I'm like, I've certainly got my close friends, but yeah, I don't think I have really any enemies or people I don't get along. I can find a way to get along with anybody. You know, what if you, I mean, I think, I don't know what I would, I think, I feel like I put it out there. I mean, I'm a sensitive person. I truly, yeah, I'm a pretty caring guy, and passionate dude. And, I mean, and all of those things are the most important things to me in my life. So, yeah, I don't know. There is nothing I don't think that I wish, like, I don't feel like people see, at least not that I can think of.
Cool. Well, where can we find you if we want to follow along with your adventures?
Oh boy, probably the best place is on Instagram. That seems to be the place I inhabit the most. I definitely will venture onto Twitter as well, but those are probably the two best places. But definitely Instagram. I what I love about Instagram is that it's just, I don't know, it's more. You're telling a story through pictures is a different type of communication, and versus like, I'm not a wordsmith. So like am I picking the right words to, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm just going to lay this feeling out there with a photograph and let people interpret it from there. So that's probably the best place to find me, is on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on to chat today, and hopefully see you out on the trails at some point soon.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would really definitely enjoy that, and thanks for taking the time to chat with me.
For sure. That's it for today's episode. Like many long runs, it's sad when it has to end. I hope you join in next week on For the Long Run, and in the meantime, happy trails. If you've enjoyed this episode, it would mean a lot to me if you shared it so that others can find it and enjoy it too.